a Hindi cinema going audience to an American to UK, and I mean, the whole entire world it has to encompass. So they have to find stories that are universal, stories that works within the difference between all these industries is only for me. It is only there are two things. One is of course the budget that you get to work with, you know. So you have a subject, then to arrive at a particular exposition of the subject, you have a certain budget. Now, because you're dealing with bigger audience, bigger markets, so you have budget keeps changing. So you could very well conceive a 1,000 crore movie in a Hollywood scenario, uh, but whereas you can't you don't conceive more than 100 crore movie in when it comes to a Hindi film, and maybe a 20 crore movie or 30 crore movie when it comes to regional cinema. You know, so that's the scale in which you can go. So scale is one aspect. To me, the most different is discipline. The discipline with which we approach our work, that is different from Hollywood to Hindi cinema to every other aspect of filmmaking. I wish we get the same discipline as Hollywood, because they make 3 years of planning and 3 months of shooting. We talk about Indian cinema. It's like we do 3 months of planning and 3 years of shooting. You know, and we come to the set and start writing script, starts writing dialogue. Films are not made like that, because films are collaborative effort. You know, how I am thinking as a sound man about a particular scene, how a cameraman is thinking about a particular scene to be captured, how a production designer is thinking about a scene to be envisioned, how an actor is wanting to interpret a particular scene, how a director want to capture a particular scene that is written by a scriptwriter. You know, all these people, and how a music composer is giving an interpretation of a scene that has come together as one emotional element. All these people have to come together, you know, and all these people are very, very strong individual artists. They have their own artistry, they have very, very strong point of view, and we have to everything have to combine together. So which means if you can arrive at only one common line, if all this thing has been given enough preparations, the director has to hear my point of view, the cameraman's point of view, the production designer's point of view, the actor's point of view, everyone's point of view, and come into a common denominator. You see, so that cannot be done in a working process. I mean, there are a stream of filmmaking like that. um, you know for example, painting is an individual pursuit. you know One painter would sit and keep painting, or an architecture work like that, or a writer, a poet would work like that on his poetry. A filmmaking is not like that. So you have a common factor, which is the director, and everybody is working towards that, his vision. And with our knowledge, we take his vision further, you know to another level. That's what happens in filmmaking. So I feel in Hollywood there is a great detail of discipline. When they hire me, they want to use my technical knowledge, they want to use my artistic integrity as a part of the filmmaking, thereby create a production value to the work that we are doing. So is everybody in the unit. So everyone, from the artist to the last person, is important, in that scenario. So there is a discipline that has been they have cultivated over many years of filmmaking, and they have understood business. Filmmaking as a business, they have sort of cultivated into a very properly structured business. Indian cinema is still more or less 90% of Indian cinema is still a family business, an extension of family business, or passionate people, what come to, that's why you have like, sporadic people coming from somebody from village comes and make one film and become a hit, you know, our success rate is less than 8%. We make more than 1,200 movies in a year. Let's take Hindi cinema. We make more than 200 Hindi cinema. Like 12 to 15 films are a box office success, which means it made its money in the box office and made some profit. Only 12 to 15 films in a year out of 200 movies that we make, which means our success rate is 7 to 8% success rate. Do you think any industry can sustain with this success rate? No other industry will sustain. But Indian cinema is keep making more movies. Why is that? It is not the money it makes. It is the pursuit of people's passion. The people who are working, all of you guys who are listening to me today, everyone who is part of filmmaking process or want to be part of the filmmaking process, you go and watch a movie in a theater because you want to be part of that passionate journey. That is the only reason Indian cinema is sustaining. As a business model, it cannot sustain. You see, so it is not about economics. So when I say a certain business model that is working in the rest of the universe can work here, may not be possible because Indian cinema has its own dynamics. But a certain discipline, if you bring in a certain discipline in our studies, in our education system, in our practice of that education, in our profession, in our artistic endeavors, if that discipline can come in, our business model can succeed. This 8% can become 20%. This 20% can become 40%. Then imagine how, then we become a more susceptible industry. Indian cinema today is a paper industry. We are only in papers as an industry. We are not like a steel industry or banking sector or construction industry or any other other industry. We are not industry like that. Our worth is less than 10,000 crore in a year, or maybe 20,000 crore. That's nothing. That's not even like one day, one day trade in the diamond market of Mumbai. So we are so little because our success rate is like this, because our bus, but still it is the biggest fascination for the rest of the Indians because it is our only out going out. The Indian audience goes out to vent their all their angst is in the cinemas. The music that we listen to are from Hindi cinema, from our cinema. We have a classical art which is classical music, but the connoisseurs of classical music is less than 1% of Indian population. We were the biggest culture. We have a culture which is more than 10,000 years old. We have traditions that are more than 10,000 years old. But 99% of Indian audience who is listening to music is from Indian cinema. You see, so our cinema has huge possibility. I only wish there were more discipline has come into Indian cinema. So there is one person who's asking me a question about Trance. Issa is asking, watched Trance in theater, OTT platform and TV. The mix of the sound design elements are so crisp and clear, like Hollywood movies. I was so happy to see a commercial movie which gives so much importance to sound. How was your experience in Trance? Yes, Trance, when we worked on Trance, I loved the story. I loved the film. I loved the way it explored, narrative element. And I think in the recent years, one of my very experimental work is Trance. And I spent a lot of time in designing, almost 3 months in designing Trance and mixing. Almost 1 month we mixed the movie. And I still haven't done appreciation of the mix to OTT and TV. What you saw in the OTT and TV is actually the film mix. Generally, you do remixes it. And that's because of the lockdown, we couldn't deliver separate mixes to OTT platforms. So after the lockdown gets over, we start delivering so what you're hearing is the film mix. So it should actually sound not so good. A film mix may not sound very good in TV. A film mix may not sound very good in OTT platforms because the dynamics are very different, and we need to appreciate the mixes to that. Still, it is sounding good, which means it's a very, very encouraging. We spent a lot of time in the mix, and Anwar was very, very clear about what kind of sounds that you want to hear in the movie, and how loud, how far, how close. We worked on textures, so so we worked very hard on that. I'm very happy that people are enjoying it, and I'm getting a lot of feedback on Trance. Another question, which was your first film? My first film never released. There's only one print. It is still sitting in the film can. It is called Private Detective. It was the first film of the director Rajat Kapoor, cameraman Rafi Mahmood, myself. Many of us come together. And Irfan Khan acted in that movie. It was one of our first association after the film school. So there is so many good memories about my first movie, though it never got released.
So over 100 questions for you, sir.
I'm happy.
Yeah. I also have one question. Like, what is the most exciting part about sound designing?
More exciting?
What is
I
the
don't.
most exciting part? Yeah.
I don't know. I go through hell. You know, when you look back, say, for example, when somebody talk about trance like this, I feel happy. But while I was doing trance, every day was a torture for me because every day I was trying to find what is the best association for this movie. What is the best sound for this movie? How can I go into? I mean, it was quite experimental for me, the movie, because I was psychoanalyzing. Uh, I was analyzing the psychosis of characters within the movie through sound. You know, and especially what is the kind of a palette of sounds somebody who is mentally derailed would hear. What does that affect them? So a sound of a fly is you know very important, as important as the sound of a hit in the movie. So I worked a lot on that. So for me, and the 1 month that we spent in mixing the movie, because in a movie many elements comes together. So it had a live sound, sound that is recorded on location, the dialogue track. We had a little bit of crowd dubbing that we have done. Plus, we have enormous amount of crowd recording, wild recording that we have done. Plus, it has music. Plus, it has sound design. Plus, it has ambiences. So everything has to come together as one cohesive element.
Okay.
You know, one cohesive oral texture that the audience enjoy, as one emotional strain, uh, one emotional train of thought. You know, to arrive at is you have to work in small parts. You know, a sound that you experience in the cinema or in your headphone of a film are actually divided into thousands and thousands of elements. I may be listening a million sound in a movie, a million sound files, maybe 2 million sound files in the movie to create one emotional soundtrack. You know, that is tedious, physically tedious. You know? Other than that, I enjoy every moment of me in the studio, me in the process of creation.
Okay. And your hard work, your work, and I'll say your torture that you face that actually touches the heart and soul of every listener. And that's why I see we have a comment also. It's anonymous attendee. He's saying you are always known as an epitome of innovations.
Thank you. I'm happy that youngsters looking at me like that.
Yes.
There's another question which Dr. Amit Chawla is asking. First of all, my comment, he's asking me if there are other than FTI and SRFTI institutions to study sound designing and engineering in India. So this is something that I want to talk to the young students. See, after my Oscars, there were millions of sound engineering institutions have cocooned, mushroomed in the country. Because suddenly they found that, okay, Resul Pookutty has won an Oscar, like Sachin Tendulkar. After Sachin Tendulkar, everybody wanted their kids to be a cricketer. So now, लगा देते इसमें अभी now engineering में डाल देते, sound engineering में डाल देते. So see, you have to look at education is business. For people, it's business. They are vultures sitting there. They just mushroomed. They saw an opportunity, they mushroomed. I meet every week, I meet students who study in these private institutions and they get nothing. You know, they take so much money from these kids and they give in return almost nothing. They become a confused lot. So to me, There are only very few institutions in India to study. FTI and SRFT are the foremost institutions. I will not recommend anything more than that. But there are institutions in Kerala. There is a KR Narayan Institute of Film Studies, which is under the government of Kerala. There is one institution in Tamil Nadu, which is again under the government of Kerala. There's one institution in Bangalore under government of Karnataka. There's one institution in Odisha under government of Odisha. And also there's one institution in Assam under government of Assam. I only recommend these public institutions. You know, out of this all three, I would recommend FTI and SRFT. Why? Because one, they have a long history of teaching, long history of understanding cinema. Two, two, you becoming a sound designer, or you want to be somebody like me or somebody like someone else in the business. It is not about learning a computer language. It is not about learning a software. It is not about learning how to operate microphones, how to record, how to edit. It is about understanding cinema as a form of art. Like I said before, cinema is a language. It is a collaborative art. Many other arts comes into it. It has a long history. Within the small history of 100 years, it has gone through every ism that every other art has gone through, like expressionism, impressionism that happened in painting and music, everything cinema has experimented. So there's a lot for you to learn and to find yourself as an artist. You know, then you become a craftsman. So when you have such artistic integrity, the work that you do become a work that people follow. See, I am using the same software as everybody else is using. I am using the same microphone as everybody else is using. But why my work is different from other work? Because I am able to leave a imprint, a signature of mine. That signature comes from my artistic integrity. That comes from studying cinema as a form of art, a form of language, as a part of my artistic pursuit. So go and study in film school where they teach you films and sound as a craft. You know, of course, to be able to become a sound man, you need to learn technology, you need to learn a little bit of physics, you need to learn a little bit of electronics. All that is part of it, but that's not everything. You know, you don't need to be a musician to be a sound man or a sound designer. You know, it will come, but very important that you study cinema as a language, as a form of art in a very structured way is very important. So choose your places to study very diligently.
Yeah. So, sir, there is one question that I personally wanted to ask, and I have it in our question answer segment also by Mr. Somnath Sen. He's saying you talked about meaning of the sound Om during your acceptance speech at the
Mhm,
Oscars. So,
mhm.
can you like tell us the same?
Um, okay. See, India is the only civilization in the world where we found human body as the first musical instrument. You know, and Indian music is one of the most ancient form of music in the origin of human species. And a classical Indian singer is not singing from his throat. The Sapta Swaras are emanated from 7 points in his body, from Nabhi to Uchi. As somebody who is a true classical Indian musician, when he is able to perform for others, his Saptaswaras are emanated from 7 nadi points in his body. In the ancient Indian belief, we believe that when such Saptaswaras are emanated, your Kundalini rises and you see Brahma. That is why we consider artists in our country as next to God. We respect them, we touch their feet, We keep them as people whom we should worship. you know that is traditionally the association came from. In the pursuit of learning sound, I have come across people, I've come across Indian tradition, that given me this realization. I have seen and been with people who have seen Brahma like that, who have raised their Kundalini like that. So it is my knowledge of the Indian art that made me find this aspect of Indian tradition. Then, as a professional, I worked in a movie called Slumdog Millionaire. As an Indian, I may not agree with everything that movie has portrayed about India. So when I stood in a world global stage like that, when people thought that what they saw in Slumdog is India, as an Indian, I had the responsibility to tell the world that that is not India. Though the fact that I worked in the movie as a professional, and I fulfilled the duties of a professional in the movie, but still I thought I had the responsibility to tell the world where I am coming from. So in my Oscar speech, I said, I come from a country and a civilization that has given the universe a sound preceded by silence and followed by more silence. And that sound is Om. I
Very well
hope I answered your
explained,
question.
sir. Yeah, very well explained. Yes. So, as the time is running short, maybe you can answer one of the question asked by the
Mhm.
audience, and like we would love to hear you for as many hours as you can be with us, but maybe one more question from the audience, please. So,
I'm just looking through it. There's a lot of technical questions
yeah.
that are coming up. I would restrict myself, not answering, going not going too much into technicalities, because I think there is a varied audience here.
So there is a question
Mm.
from Ibn Nazir. What
Mm.
is your advice for upcoming audio engineers who wants to enter the film industry? And is there any opportunity apart from film industry for a sound engineer?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, good question. First of all, I have no advice for all of you. I am not anybody to give advice. I'm no advice. But like I said in the beginning of my talk, I was saying that there is no replacement of for hard work. You know, there is no cut short. There is no small ways to come into success. If success is making money, then there's no discussion.
Yeah.
If the success is about making you fearless, then you have to dedicate yourself. Stability, perseverance, and hard work. These three things have to be your mantra. Okay. What was the second part of the question?
Is there any other opportunity apart from film industry?
There are tons of
Tons of
opportunities.
opportunities, yeah.
Actually, sound as a craft is not something that is unexplored. Unexplored. Sound in cinema is only a very small part of it. In museums, like the way you expose your paintings and architecture work in museums, there is a form of art called sound art. Now, there are works of mine have been shown in art galleries in Italy, in Bangalore, in rest of India, in MoMA, for example. There are works of mine have been shown as simple, very only artistic work. It is called sound art. Sound art is something that is very well accepted, and it's a huge market in the global art scenario. That is one area. Two, there are a lot of light and sound shows that you can create. There are expositions, artistic expressions in the rest of the country. There are there is various aspects of sound that you can explore as a profession, not just film. So if you learn sound, if you know how to work in sound, if you're in love with sound as a form of art, and if you didn't find success in cinema, don't be disheartened. There are very very serious artistic pursuit in sound. Plus there's a lot of craft work in sound that you can pursue. There's a lot of industrial sound work that you can pursue, and there are a lot of electronic work that you can pursue. There is there is something called, you must look at the works of Ministry of Sound, and creating new sounds for all the greatest artists in the world. There are you know some of the biggest mathematicians in the world have been sound artists, for example. And there are many things I was going. There's there are so many streams of work that you can pursue. So just don't be disheartened if you haven't found success in being a sound man in a film. Films are very limited exposition, I would say.
Okay.
Anything else? Anything else?
No, I think so. I know your time is very precious. So I'd like to thank you so much for this wonderful session. We had a great time, and I'm sure the viewers also enjoyed this. I know there are so many questions that can be answered. So if you would like, you can maybe share your questions via the feedback form that you'll be receiving after the session. And do join us for tomorrow's session with Dr. Ashish Kulkarni to get insights on media and entertainment industry. Also, don't forget to register for our Creative Warriors free online courses. Uh, You can make sure to tag us with your selfies with Rasool sir on our social media handles at Media and Entertainment Skills Council, Vidyadan. And do like, share, subscribe to our channel. We hope to see you tomorrow. Okay, thank you so
Okay.
much. Yes,
Okay, a parting note to all
yes,
of you. I'm sure most of them are students working. I'm just going through some of the questions. Participants who are practitioners, who are professionals. There are a lot of people who are in varied categories. Thank you, all of you during this lockdown period. Come to this portal, visit me and listen to me. Give me an opportunity to interact with you. Your ideas are very important, because I consider being with the younger generation so that I can learn a lot from them, because I think they have the most dynamic ideas and they want to be part of the ordinary. They always walk the extraordinary path, or they always walk a path which is less traveled by many. So thank you for making me part of this event and enriching me today. And I see a lot of your questions are still unanswered. There will be more opportunities like this, and there's more opportunities to meet me and interact with me. And once again, stay home, stay safe. We are
yes.
going through one of the darkest time humanity is facing in the last century, maybe many centuries to come. We do not know the normal that we know till yesterday is probably not going to come back. There's going to be a
Yes.
new normal. We all have to reinvent ourselves, the way we work, the way we conduct ourselves. So I wish everybody a good time in future, and good working environment. Everything that is positive, especially in today's time, when you hear positive is the most negative aspect. But still, stay home, stay safe, enjoy yourself, and looking forward to hearing from all of you, seeing all of your work. And thank you for giving me this opportunity, MESC, for giving me this opportunity to be part of this event and enriching my life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everybody. Hope to see you tomorrow for Dr. Ashish Kulkarni's session. And with that, please stay safe, stay home, take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.